Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin On Rugby podcast. Joining me this week is someone back for cap number 73. Welcome back to Mr. Connor Cronin.
Delighted to be back. Delighted to be back to talk about a win as well. So that's always a positive thing.
You picked a good week to come back to us, all right, that's for sure. Well, let's turn our attention to that feature match of the week. And here's a generic 80-word summary of how things went. Ireland scraped past Italy 2013 in the tense Six Nations contest, trailing 10-5 at halftime after Giacomo Nicotera's try and Paolo Garbizi's kicking. They improved when the bench arrived. Jack Conan powered over before Robert Balogun struck on his championship debut, with Jack Crowley adding crucial points. Italy stayed in touch through another Garbizi penalty and mounted late pressure, but Ireland's defence held firm and secured a much-needed first win in 3. Now, obviously, we'll be going into a bit more detail than that. And for starters this week, Connor, we felt we've had to return to a theme that's come up a lot this season for both Leinster and Ireland, namely issues in our attack.
Yeah. A couple of years ago when Mike Catt announced he was leaving the role of attack coach, I think it's fair to say people were like, oh, that's a real pity. You know, he's been good for us. He's really helped us put a decent shape on our attack. And in that shape, there was guile and misdirection, and there was ideas, and it didn't always come to fruition the way we might have liked, but there was something to it. And then, in a very coincidental, not too long after announcement, Andrew Goodman announced he would be leaving Leinster, and I thought, oh, well, that's okay. I don't actually mind that. Only to find out that he was going into the Ireland job. I genuinely don't know why. I don't know what he brings. I don't know what he offers that has him in that position. I didn't know what he brought to Leinster's attack. There were moments, but the forwards were coming up with those trick tap and go plays. That's nothing to do with him, I don't think. They're being creative in there, and the backs were making use of a dominant attacking platform that the forwards were providing. So you could run relatively simple shapes, or you could run simple things under that and, make it work. It's not working for Ireland. I struggle to see why. I think our shape has deteriorated. I think we are not running, when you look at us running a diamond left and a diamond right and questions being asked and, which way are they going? Where should we stack our defence? There's 2 forwards there, but there's 3 over here. What do we do now? And it left defences guessing a little bit, and so we could be more creative. And in those diamond shapes, you're passing to one player who's got 3 options then. Is that ball now going left, right, or out the back? What's happening next? And that bit of invention that creates, that bit of opportunity that creates, it's just not there at the moment. I look at our attack yesterday, and I know that there are those who will say, but when certain things changed, didn't it all get a whole lot better? Certain things did change. I think a lot of the bench were on at that stage. But I think that over the last couple of weeks, we're too flat. We have players who don't expect the ball. The best example of that is yesterday when Jeremy Loughman has the ball batted back to him. He goes, me? Like he just didn't know what to do. The ball just hits him and bounces off him. Like, you were told to chase. What were you expecting to happen? He's not going to jump and catch necessarily, because nobody's jumping and catching anymore. You've got to jump and bat the ball back. And he had no idea it was coming. And he's not the only one though. And it's just an example of a moment where the ball comes to a player and he's surprised, because either players don't know what the calls are, or they don't know what the calls are meant to look like, or what the shape is meant to be. We've got players overrunning passes. We have very few strong running lines. A line that cuts against the grain a bit. Somebody, the passes are all going left, and suddenly you've got a player cutting it in right to make for the fact that everybody's shifting in the defence. Where is that? And the only ones I saw yesterday doing that were Stuart McCluskey and Nick Timmody. Those were 2 players I saw do that, and it worked really well. But where's that the rest of the game? And we're losing the battle up front. We're losing the battle with the forwards. So the forwards are not creating a platform where the backs can do anything. Yesterday, I don't know, did people... It's grand. it's only Italy. Let's see what we can do. But we were losing the battle up front from the beginning. Um, and because we're losing that battle, there's no discernible shape to what we're doing. There's no obvious, this is, and dare I say it, no leadership where somebody makes the call and says, lads, pay attention. It's this. This is what we're doing. It's just one out runners. It's aimless box kicks with no chasers. It's just flat rugby. Where's our creativity gone? Where's our bit of flair that we had a couple of years ago? And I know leading up to the World Cup, the question was there. When it was coming to the World Cup a couple of years ago, there was that thing of, are we just keeping our powder dry now? We're not going to show anything. We're not going to show what things we've got because we want to keep them in reserve for that game or for this game and when we had that mindset, it was like, oh, that's okay. We're waiting for something to come. And the somethings don't really come. Every now and then there's a play where you look and you say, yes, that's nice. And yesterday, when Crowley came on, and I don't know, was it a case of him taking it and saying, now lads, simple stuff. Where's your position? Where's your shape? Let's go. Or was somebody else making that call? The two things coincide. But suddenly simple balls to a simple ball out the back that creates space because you've got an attacker running into space and the ball goes behind him and he's sucked in two defenders, and now Stuart McCluskey has room to stay upright and spin a little bit and pass a ball off or offload off the floor. And that creativity it's lacking. And there's no excuse for it. We're meant to be a top international team. We are meant to be one of the best in the world. And saying, we beat South Africa in the World Cup, didn't we? And that's great. That's 2 years ago. And they went on and won it. We didn't, win. We won no other games of significance in that World Cup. And we've not won a huge amount since. That makes me feel like our attack is on an upward trajectory. Now, I appreciate that there's some other factors in place here. There's the Lions Tour. And I know people are going to say, you can't still be complaining about the Lions Tour, but you can a little bit, because if Andy Farrell's creating attacking shapes, all those players know what Andy Farrell is now looking for. There are oppositions throughout Europe now who are saying, oh, so this is an Andy Farrell attack. And, Finn, when you worked under that Andy Farrell attack, what did they want from you? So what are they going to be looking for here? So we needed to come up with something new beyond the Lions. There's fatigue in there because some players are tired. Some players have played a lot of rugby over the last couple of years, and no amount of IRFU mandated management is going to give them enough of a break for them to be playing at their absolute peak all the time. And the France game was particularly physical. Yes, we had an extra couple of days of recovery, but fatigue creeps in there. We've got change of 10. There's a lot of talk about the fact that 2 years ago we did what we were able to do with Jack Crowley at 10, and then Sam got parachuted in over him last year in the Six Nations. And I think the article that was written, the interview that was done with Crowley last year, where he said, I haven't been playing at my best, so I'm not that surprised he got up ahead of me while that was happening. I think that should answer all those questions from last year. But now we've had the same 10 for, what's this now, six out of 7 of the last Six Nations games we've played. We've had the same starting 10. So why isn't there continuity there? One of the other factors that I think is worth mentioning, particularly because of how well some of the fellas played yesterday, is changes of systems courtesy of other coaches. So the things that you're training to do with club, that you're trying to switch off to do different things when you get to the national setup. And I think some players are adapting really well to that and some aren't. And I think all the work Richie Murphy is doing up in Ulster, I think that's bearing huge dividends for us, because I think our best players on the pitch yesterday, if I was picking my top 5, 3 of them are definitely Ulster. And that's brilliant. Is the same thing happening with a new head coach down in Munster, a little bit less. I don't think they're adapting coming into the national setup in the same way. And maybe it's because Clayton McMillan isn't used to the Irish setup, and maybe he isn't used to, so we are kind of expected to do a little bit of this as well within the team to make sure when they step up, they're ready for these kinds of things. But I really don't feel it's happening at all in Leinster. Where's the cohesion we were looking at a couple of years ago? Where's that gone? Because players just don't seem connected, and the attack is really suffering.
Yeah, I mean, I know we won the game, and we're starting with a kind of a negative kind of topic, but it is something that has been ongoing. And I remember before the November internationals, there was an interview. I think it was with Jemison Gibson Park, and he said, "Yeah, we're trying out some new things, and we're gonna, you're gonna see some new things from Ireland coming up." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, that sounds good," And so basically, since then, I've been trying to find what it is we're trying to do now. I think there have been some moves. I think they rely on quick passing. They rely on quick hands and getting it wide sometimes. And when it works, it's really good. It does look good. But the problem is, like for example, in Paris, we were overrun by the forwards. And if the quality of ball isn't there at the start from the scrum half, by the time you're getting it to the wing, you're never gonna execute moves like that. You factor in as well. We talked about Sam.
And
I
look at
mean,
how
Sam.
quick, look at
He
how
does have the
close
yeah,
Louis Lina got. Look how close Louis Lina got to an intercept because we were trying that,
exactly.
and
Yes,
we weren't quite
because they
there
were
for
reading
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, absolutely. And then you look at Sam. I mean, Sam, he's obviously talented. He's obviously shown that talent in training, and that he's got the confidence, he's got the ability. It's just, I think it's his actual decision making. At times, he tries. He's got the ability to do these fancy little grubbers through and kicks over the top and all this kind of stuff. It's just the timing when he does it. But I think as well, on Saturday, especially, it was just the accuracy. And it wasn't just him, but there was times when we were doing the right things, but we were just weren't doing it right. We weren't doing it with any kind of accuracy. And at this level, I mean, this is an improving Italian side. And obviously it was France last week. You're going to be punished if it's not on the money. If the putting up high balls is fine. I'm not against that myself, but it's got to be accurate. If it's too far, and they get some space to run back at you, you're gonna pay, and you're gonna be on the back foot. So there are a lot of issues there, and I think that the overarching theme from this particular match when it comes to our attack plan is that yes, we did get tries. We got 3 tries. We could have even gotten a bonus point try had things not gone pear-shaped right at the very end. But was that because of our attack strategy, or was it in spite of it? And I think it was the latter. So I it's you just you look at the rest of the tournament, and we find ourselves in this situation where, well, yes, we'll beat Italy at home. We've got Scotland and Wales coming down the line. Scotland obviously won't be easy, but with these home matches, we can probably stay ahead of those teams. But I think the key thing you said is we are meant to be a top international team. Andy Farrell came in and got us into the number 1 position, which put us as target on our back. I mean, the Springboks and the Frances and the Englands and the All Blacks, they were looking out for us, and it's looking like now that they can all beat us. We'll see next week about England, but it's we've dropped to this level now. We've got to find a way to get ourselves back up, and I think things have to change on the attacking front.
it's an arms race. It's absolutely an arms race. We've said it
Mm.
before, and at the moment, we're not making anything to compete. We're not making anything that's better. We're trying to rely on things. I mean, when when Joe Schmidt realized you could choke tackle a player in live play, it didn't have to be a maul. You could create a maul just by holding a player up. When you look at how the English came, and I can't remember what year it was, but Eddie Jones had been practicing with pool noodles to put pressure on fellas jumping so that they knew what they'd be under when trying. It's about being innovative. It's about looking for something new. Dan Sheehan diving over the top of a ruck is not something new. Look how quickly the Italians knew that was coming. So
Mhm.
unless we come up with something new, we're going to lose the arms race and we're going to fall behind in a way that we don't want to. Um, I, I'm I'm not as stressed for this year because our World Cup ranking is set and that's it. But if they continue to pick World Cups 2 years in advance and put you in your pool based on just your rankings, then, within the next year, we need to have a system in place that we can work, a system that does work, and a system that can't be undermined by someone else's creativity in a very short space of time, so that it's still valid when we need to have our rankings building up going into a new World Cup cycle, or indeed the World
Yeah,
Cup itself.
absolutely. And you spoke of an arms race. I mean, France were doing that as well with the lineouts last week, throwing it early so he didn't get a chance to jump and have a contest. So there was a lot. So it didn't matter if it was straight or crooked or whatever. So little niggly things like that. We have to maybe get back to the drawing board and be a little more innovative ourselves. And but just to show that that there is a plan and that we've the right. Maybe it could be a personnel issue as well. The right personnel out there to execute the plan. But it's definitely something we'll need to look at as we go further through the Six Nations. Well, elsewhere in the Guinness Six Nations, Ireland's under-20s secured a vital 30-27 win over Italy in Cork with tries from Christopher Barrett, Danny Ryan, Jerry Maloney, and player of the match Josh Neal, driving a much sharper attacking performance. Despite a tense late defensive stand, they claimed their first championship victory of the season. Back in the senior competition, Scotland reclaimed the Calcutta Cup by defeating England 31-20 at Murrayfield, guided by Finn Russell. And on Sunday, France dominated Wales 54-12 in Cardiff, scoring 8 tries and heaping more misery on a depleted Principality crowd, making it a maximum 10 points for Galtier's men. But now we must return to the Aviva Stadium and look at some of the other Harpin points. And I suppose since we won, we should probably find some positives. And Connor, you reckon some of the fresh faces in the team are working out?
Yeah, I think there's some real positives to be seen. Before I get into them, I want to say that from the standpoint of the competition, the biggest positive is how well Italy are playing. I think it is a massive step up from them. They've gone from also rans to running everybody close. Having beaten Scotland last week, and they made it very, very difficult for us. Their pack is impressive. I cannot stress that enough. There are, I I can't think of any other time I've seen Tyke Furlong upended like that in a scrum. Just unbelievable strength out of their forwards. And they're well drilled and they're absolutely up for it. I think I'm quite thankful that enough of our put in enough of a performance. I want to first look at the impact that, and I mentioned this already, the impact that Richie Murphy's thing is now having on the Irish team, because I think three of the best players on the day, Cormac Izuchukwu, with the exception of a terribly soft penalty given away in the middle of the match. But aside from that, I think he had a good game. I think he was really solid. I think Balakoon had an excellent game. He doesn't look like a fella who's only on his fifth cap. That's his fifth time out for the senior side, and he looked very comfortable in the setup. He looked very happy doing what he was doing. Did he do everything perfect? No, but he took his try brilliantly. He'd work to do when he got the ball from McCluskey. McCluskey's another one who really had some absolutely great individual moments. He's credited for 2 assists and really played well. He's slotting into the setup, and when you consider that he's been held out by Aki and Henshaw for as long as he has, there's a guy who should have a lot more caps, and he's shown us all now why he should have a lot more caps. I think he had an absolutely great game. And the other new face that absolutely deserves a mention is Edwin Adogbo. I want to say that whoever the absolute scumbags are who are responsible for the IRFU turning off posting on their congratulations post, and they've turned off comments because some people are just dickheads. I'm sorry, whoever you are, why ever you're writing nonsense about a fella born and reared in this country, is just ridiculous. And I'm sorry, I don't care what he looks like. He had a really good game. He came on, and again, one stupid. I think I say stupid penalty. I think it was a really harsh penalty. I think he reaches down, he goes for the ball, he looks at Holly and says, "Can I?" And she goes, "No," and he says, "Okay," and then she says, "Advantage," and like
Yeah,
he
yeah, that
looked
was
for permission. He left the ball,
yeah,
going to take it out, but it's a harsh penalty. Um, but put that aside. He's on for 11 minutes, I think, and he's credited with 9 tackles, which is a real measure of somebody who wanted to get out and do some work. Um, you cannot, you can't coach work ethic. You can't coach desire. You can encourage it, you can foster it, but you can't teach it. And he's got it. And I think he's been very unlucky not to have a chance before now, because he's had a couple of injuries that ruled him out previously. But he's taken his opportunity this weekend to say, I want to be in the mix next week. I want to be there against England as well. And I can see it happening. I can see him he will definitely get an opportunity against Wales. I think he'll get a starting berth against Wales. He's a good player. He really knows why he's there. Like he knows what his role is. He knows what he needs to do. I think it was slightly funny when he came on. I think he literally came on the pitch. The break in play that allowed him to come on was a scrum. And the ridiculous moment of the commentary team going, "Oh, and this is now the first scrum since he came on." It's like it's the only scrum since anything came on or anything else happened. But I think, yeah, I'm impressed with Adogbo, Izuchukwu, and Balakoon as 3 fairly fresh faces. I also think there are other players who had good moments. I think Osborne, another one who took his try well and had a good game. I 100% believe he's being played out of position, and the sooner we can get him back into centre and out of full back, the better for everybody, because it means that the person who is playing full back is someone who's a bit more specialist. He's doing a fine job, but he's not. It's not his position. And when you see him in midfield, you see why he should be in midfield. When you see him taking a ball with a bit of a line and taking an opportunity when he passes, I want to see a bit more of that, and I want to see him have those opportunities by being played in position. I think Jack Conan played like a man who, proved why he's been a Lion, and why he got chosen above other players to start. I think James Lowe came back with a lot of intent. It didn't always come off, but you could really see he wanted to make things happen. I mean, I wish he had a bit more pace about him, because when he took that ball and started sprinting down the field, I honestly thought, James Lowe 4 years ago might have made that, but look, age catches up with us all. I'm not even going to suggest for a second I would have made more than 3 meters on that carry if I'd been up against those same fellas. But like I say, he showed why he's still a better option at 11 than others we've used recently. And when it comes to the bench, I mentioned already that when Crowley came on, whether it was coincidence that or not, the attack flowed better. I think he was looking for simple things done right, created space. And if that's what it requires going forward, then let's go with that. And I know there are definitely people who will look and say, "But you're a Leinster fan. Why are you saying this?" Because, and I'm wearing an Ireland top. I'm wearing an Ireland jersey underneath. My blue stuff has been put away because the national setup is what takes priority right now. Crowley played very well when he came on. I won't pretend otherwise. I think Timoney is another one who played very well coming on. I think Gibson Park was much better coming on. I watched the Wales France game earlier, and Jamie Heaslip was asked about his thoughts, and I was a bit distracted because there were other things going on in the house. But one of the things he definitely said was that Gibson Park is still a superior scrum half to any of those who are behind him. When it comes to playing England in a couple of weeks, he has to start. And I think that Craig Casey wasn't horrific by any means. I'm not going to say that. Like, was he brilliant? No, he was okay. He's very unlucky to have got a yellow card. There's not a whole lot he can do in that position. He's passive. He is soaking that contact, but it's head on head. So letter of the law says it must be a yellow. And I'm okay with that aspect of it. I don't know why it ever needed to be for whether it was red or not. Head on head, you've got to put player safety above anything else. And I say he's unfortunate because the fact that the player is tackled, the fact the player leans towards him and all he can try and do is react. You see it in him. He's trying to lean back. He's trying to escape from it. He's unlucky. But regardless of that, his game management was not as good as Gibson Park. His quality of pass, his pace of pass, his speed at the ruck was not as not as efficient as Gibson Park when Gibson Park came on. I think Gibson Park and whatever out half we use, I'm not going to suggest for a second that I know what's going through Andy Farrell's head, but Gibson Park to start without a doubt. But look, the thing is, our bench for the second week in a row, our bench came on and was really good. I think it's reason enough for Timoney to be asking, okay, well, look at the impact I've made coming off the bench a couple of weeks running. Do I get a shot with the starters jersey, please and thank you? I don't know that he'll get it against England, but certainly it would be worth looking at him in either of the other two games starting at 7 because Doris is an 8. And I think that's the end of that discussion. I don't think we need to say a whole lot more. Doris is an 8. He can do a job if required at 7, but it's not the job somebody who's training week in, week out in that position does. So I want to see Timoney get his shot going forward as well.
Yeah, definitely. There was definitely a lot of performances there that were, that were definitely noteworthy. And I just want to start with Stu McCluskey because I mean, there were some players that are come up into the team. Now Stu has been capped before, but before now he was always filling in. He was included in Ireland squads, and like you say, Henshaw and Aki would be ahead of him. So Stu would get the Italy game, or Stu would get the Wales game, or Stu would get the Fiji game, and that would be his start. But I mean, now he's coming in and playing, and in terms of his game as well. I mean, they call him Choo Choo Stu. He was like, give him the ball and he'll truck it up and get you over the game line, which was great. But it was like, well, what else can he do? Was kind of the thing at test level. And my God, he's showing us everything else he could do. He made some amazing tackles. Personally, I would have made him player of the match over Bala. I think Bala played well. Those assists, the quick pass, the quickness of passing, the putting players into space, just all the general work he does. I think his was the most undroppable performance of Ireland starters on the day. But no, that was great. Balogun, but as well though, a great outing for him. I don't see any reason not to keep him in the team next week. You've got Tommy O'Brien. There's other options there that are really good, that could do a really good job as well on that wing. But when you see a display like that, you see someone fit so well in the squad, you want to give him that confidence, hand him the starting jersey back again. That will make him confident. So that's good. Edwin Adogbu, yes, he's a great addition to the team. He's a perfect, the kind of player I think Ireland have needed over the year. We had Joe McCarthy coming in and as a big presence in second row. Now we've got Dogbu as well. That gives us options. Like you say, he can be starting as well. I do like Timoney. Now the thing about you talked about options at 15 and options at 7, and it's not really a defense of that because I agree we want specialists, ideally want specialist players, but I think our mindset is all about the World Cups and World Cup squads, and there's certain positions, and I think 15 and 7 are two kind of key ones where if you got a nailed on specialist starter like Josh van der Fleer or Hugo Keenan, you bring them in the squad, but then you need versatile players to be able to slot in if anything happens to them in the tournament. Yeah. So that kind of, and I think that this Doris option, which is not ideal, It's we do have other players, but I think that's kind of why they go for it. I think it's why they go for the Frawleys and the O'Briens and the Osbornes as well, and Crowley as well can do a job back there for 15 because they're thinking World Cup squads. But it is definitely isn't ideal. You'd want specialist players in those positions for sure, and
Yeah.
Timney is definitely someone who could do that, and he's shown he could do it. But no, but no, listen, there were good displays, and I totally agree on Gibson Park. In those 22 situations, we're talking about we started by talking about the attack plan. When you get in that 22, you've got phases, phase after phase after phase, and you just need that one phase, and you need your scrum half to be alive to that one phase where you do the fizz pass or the kick pass or
Yeah.
the winning move that's going to do it. He's that lock picker, and that's basically his specialty, and that's who you want. And if we want to get the scores early in games, he's the one we need there to do it. So I'd say he's the right. I'm nothing against Casey. I do think there are alternatives coming up through the pipeline as well. Who
Mm.
could be breaking into the team soon. We got to
Casey would
this. We went to this
definitely
phase. Nothing
need
against
to.
Kalen Blades.
I was going to say Casey needs to.
Watch
Yeah,
himself.
he
Yeah,
just
I
needs
think
to
people could.
watch his back. He needs to keep working hard. He needs to keep,
Yeah,
add one extra string to his bow that the other lads maybe don't, just to
yeah,
make sure that he
absolutely.
stays in that position at
Yeah.
number two. And I've no objection to him
Because I
being
mean,
there.
he's fashioned a senior role for himself in the team. I mean, he does lead representative teams. He's captain before,
Yeah.
and stuff. But like you say, there are players coming through that be challenging for the third place, at least the third spot on the squad as well going forward. But listen, there's a lot of options there, and it was good. I mean, I suppose we've hit pretty much everything from the game. You mentioned Italy doing well as well. This is what's been annoying me for the past couple of weeks. Before the Six Nations started, I was concerned that you looked at the schedule and you saw we had 3 weeks in a row, no rest week, and two of those were the toughest away matches that the tournament provides. Right, so there was a strong chance that we were going to lose those two. And what I was expecting was if we lost to France and lost to England, then you'd have 2 whole weeks of the media needing articles to write and articles to fill, and it'd be this is what's wrong with Ireland, that's what's wrong with Ireland. Sam is the problem. Andy Farrell's the problem. I thought we'd get that. Turns out we got them already after the French result, and I
And we
suppose the
will
couple of extra
continue to
days
get
there
them
didn't
this
hurt
week.
either. We're gonna still it's
Yeah.
gonna be stretched out, and that's all well and good. And there are we've outlined the problems on Ireland's side of the ball, but you got to see who we're playing. Look at France. Look what France did in Cardiff today. They could have. I mean, they left some tries behind. If anything, they were able to go down a gear at times, and Italy are improving as well. Italy. There's players in the Italy team who literally weren't alive when they joined the Six Nations. You know what I mean? It's like they've been in the competition. And I looked it up this season. I said to myself, "Oh my God, they'll avoid the wooden spoon for 3 years in a row," and that's not even the first time they'll have done that. You know what I mean? So they're not this perennial wooden spoon team anymore.
And they haven't been.
No, exactly. That's the point.
They
The
were
last time they did
most
it was in
years.
2014.
They
Yeah,
were most years, but they weren't every year.
yeah,
There's a couple of years in there since they came in where okay, in the initial stages, yes, because there was a lot of work to do. And I think when it comes to Italy, and I know there are people who will disagree with me on this. We have to give credit to Conor O'Shea and the work he did when he was in the head coach role at grassroots level, because it's not just about what's happening now. It's how the game was fostered and built 7, 8, 9 years ago to convince 8, 10, 12-year-old kids to say, yeah, I'm going to give this a go. And it looks like it's a positive thing to do and build. And Conor O'Shea put a lot of work in and the team he put around him while he was in the head coach job. They did a lot of work to make that a reality. And I really hope he's sitting back and looking and saying, that's I'm part of that big achievement. I'm part of how well they're playing right now.
absolutely. And you can see it in their under 20s as well. You saw it on Friday night that they put up a really good. So they've a steady stream of players coming through the ranks as well. So Definitely looks promising for them. Okay, well, we also had some comments on our Facebook page after the match. We had Gerald Williamson who said, quite frankly, this was a wrestling match with Ireland just shading it. And we had one from Ken Tancred as well, who I've just realized that's probably that's not his real
Could be a
name, but I
pseudonym.
said it out loud. But anyway, listen, Ireland's definitely in a rebuilding phase. He says it should have started last year, except for the Lions' distraction. But Italy is starting to click, so they have to take some credit. Do you agree, or would you have said the same thing a different way? Well, if you want to get involved in the conversation, just head to our Facebook page at the Full Time Whistle after Leinster and Ireland matches, and feel free to leave your thoughts. Okay, look, we're going to leave it there for now. Many thanks to Connor for joining us. Looking forward to having you back on again soon.
Thanks a million.
And as ever, be sure to stay tuned to Harpin On Rugby on all the socials during the week, starting with our bonus chat posting on YouTube Tuesday, where we'll be harping on how the media can shape certain narratives. Then we'll have our 80 plus column where we try to look at the wider rugby world, and that posts every Wednesday over on Substack. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.